Still, a kiss did all this, huh?
Uh-huh.
Guess next we'll try
Would you believe me if I told you this anime was really good? Undead Unluck is one of the best shows continuing from 2023, and with its competition being super popular titles like Shangri-La Frontier, The Apothecary Diaries, and Frieren, it definitely wasn't easy to stick out. But stick out it did, because this show isn't your typical run-of-the-mill shonen anime. No sir. This is a shonen action-adventure comedy with degenerate writing that'll stimulate all your senses like chewing 5 gum. It's that good. But what makes it different? What makes it unique? How is this better? Could Andy beat Goku? All very valid questions that'll be answered later. But first... Fuko was just like any other girl in high school. She's into fashion, reads shoujo manga in her free time, likes being girly, and hates her body so much that she wants to end it all. Sound familiar? If so, you need some help. Take this number. Fuko had fairy tale dreams of meeting her Prince Charming one day and eventually getting married to them, until she realized they would always remain just that. You see, it all started 10 years ago when her parents were leaving for a week-long vacation. Bye mommy, bye daddy, I love you. Mwah. Mwah. Bye. Oh shit. Is this gonna put me on Santa's naughty list? It was years later she discovered she had this special power that gives anybody she has contact with enough bad luck to potentially kill them. AKA the cooties all the girls had back in the 2nd grade. Give her a high five and you could be meeting the isekai delivery truck. Give her a hug and the Promised Neverland Season 2 gets adapted poorly. Anything could go wrong.
The giant horse conch weighs over 11 pounds.
The fucking what?
After causing misfortune to those surrounding her for so long, she swore today would be her last day on Earth. That is until this Giga Chat named Andy literally walks into her knife and lifts her off her feet back to safety. Which is when she finds out this man won't die. He can't die. They live in a world where people have abilities to negate certain rules, so they're called negators, and every ability has the un prefix. Fuko is unluck, Andy is undead, this invisible guy is unseen, and then there's me, retarded. Andy has been looking for something to finally end his eternal suffering, and by a pure stroke of luck, he encountered Fuko's unluckiness. Now together, they search for the greatest death possible, aka one that can finally put him to rest for good. In a metaphorical sense, Andy is an immovable mountain with his inability to die, and Fuko's bad luck will be the unstoppable force. So what would happen if the two were to meet each other? Well, you get one of the most stereotypical 2010 shonen anime we've seen in years, and I mean that in the best way possible. Undead Unluck cuts out most of the elements that gave these shows a bad rep while still keeping the ones that make it iconic, like having a power system, a huge cast of characters, named attacks, characters that scream them when they use it, and the hype-ass fights. In the new generation of shonen anime where you have great stories mixed with depression, this series feels like a breath of fresh air with its return to origin. No longer will you have to seek a therapist each week for your mental well-being when you can watch a good show that feels like it's a jack of all trades. Animation, sound, music, writing, all of it is done well, but none to the point where it's breaking any boundaries. There is one element, however, that this show excels in, and that is the creativity in the fighting.
This series has some of the coldest fights I've seen in anime, but surprisingly, it doesn't come from the animation. It comes from the creativity of powers. As a person that's lived over 100 years with his undead ability, Andy fights exactly like he has that experience. He'll chop off his own legs in order to fly, voluntarily mutilate his own body to protect others, and even have his own head sliced off just to eke out a win. The man knows what he's doing, he knows his limits, and he knows exactly what he can and can't do. We need more guys like Andy. Even their opponents feel somewhat competent in what the limitations of their abilities are and how to use them effectively. It's like every character pushes the boundaries for what their power is and utilizes it in a way that a lot of people wouldn't think about. For example, you have Gina who can solidify the air around her to create arms by using the Unchange ability that she possesses. Like, is that not a sick way to use her ability? Or how about Juice, whose Unjustice ability can literally say no you and completely clap the cheeks of a fleet of invading aliens. The author definitely took their time to think out all these abilities and wrote the characters in a way that will allow them to utilize them to their max potential. A lot of times in other shonen series, they tend to follow this mundane pattern of performing talk no jutsu, getting into battle stance, then actually fighting until the main character wins. And if they're not winning, the power of friendship or some other bullshit is there to help them win by the skin of their ballsack. If your name is Goku, you feed your opponent a damn bean and repeat this formula a couple of times. In Undead Unluck, they throw all that shit out the window and have Andy use his whole body as a weapon. Yeah, this guy is good. It's refreshing to see an anime have a character with this much battle experience fight like they've actually had enemies before, unlike some other characters where it feels like it's their first time fighting something other than mental illness.
Speaking of characters, a great set of them can take a show far, make it really stand out amongst top tier competition, and that's exactly what Undead Unluck has done here. In this case, it's a pair of characters, but Andy and Fuko have some of the best interactions we've seen all year long, and without them, this show wouldn't be the same. Andy is one of the most optimistically insane single brain cell character I've ever seen, and he'll do what it takes to reach his goal, while Fuko is this cute, wholesome girl that has dreams of falling in love. But in a world where your whole life could change in the blink of an eye, there's no place for anything that doesn't keep you alive. She wasn't ready to live in a world like this, but with a strong hand on her shoulders and the help of Andy, maybe there's a chance for her to thrive. Her struggle might sound unique, but in their world, this story is all too common. And this was when I realized the lore and backstory of Undead Unluck ran a lot deeper than I thought. There's reasons why the ragtag organization known as Union was created. There's reasons why negators join it. There's reasons why they take on missions. And if you dig a little deeper, there's a goldmine of answers about the world just waiting for you. An anime like this is brimming with potential in my eyes. We just have to wait for it to cook a bit, and I'm sure the payout will be diabetic. Now with that being said, the show's writing isn't necessarily impressive, and it does suffer from some very convenient plot devices, like having Fuko and Andy join Union for protection, which ends up forcing them to go on side quests like they're playing Skyrim. And when you think about it, the whole story is about Andy making Fuko like him enough so that he can shoot his goo and say adieu. But at least she's 18, so Andy won't have to worry about fighting EDP's negator ability, underage. That's not to take anything away from this anime though. The writing not being triple S tier isn't that bad of a complaint when your only other complaint is Fuko's yee ass haircut.
Hey, seriously, if you just tell me whose this is, I'm not gonna be upset.
It's yours, I'm telling you, there's
It's
no other
not mine.
If you're not in it for the story, you gotta watch it for the action. Not once do you see corners being cut when it comes to the animation, and you can tell that passion was the motivator for the team working on it. Blades are being swung, attacks are being thrown, limbs are getting sliced off, explosions send debris and dust into the air, blood is all over the place. This is what it's all about. You feel the intensity, and combining these things along with the creative usage of abilities from both sides results in some of the best fights we've seen all year. David Productions was the studio behind producing the show. You know, the same studio that worked on Fire Force and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So I already knew two things were gonna happen. The sound effects were gonna go crazy, and something zesty was gonna happen at some point. But what I didn't expect was for this anime to be so enjoyable. From the fight scenes to the monologues to the interactions between our favorite duo, everything was done so well. And it even cut out all the growing pains of typical shonen anime while preserving all the enjoyable elements. By all means, Undead Unluck isn't some new revolutionary piece of fiction that will redefine shonen anime or anything like that, but the heart and passion put into it is on the same level. It's just a fun anime with a little bit of everything for everyone to enjoy. So if you haven't watched it yet, you're genuinely missing out. Oh yeah, Andy no diffs Goku.